Hi, welcome to a Roboflow training movie. In this training movie today, I will show you how to duplicate, how to install a second instance of your Roboflow installation. Sometimes if you have too many workflows in one Roboflow installation, it gets very slow or runs out of memory, or your Cumulus server cannot cope with all the requests going through one pipe, through one Cumulus connection. A golden rule is, if we look at watch folders, which are the heaviest type of workflow, a golden rule is not to have more than 5 simultaneously running Roboflow workflows, watch folders. It all depends, of course, how many files it needs to watch, etc., etc. Let's say an average of 50 to 100,000 and 5 workflows is about what one Roboflow instance can take on the out-of-the-box installation. So let's have a quick look on how to duplicate. So imagine that I want to duplicate this Roboflow installation. How do I proceed? Well, first of all, we stop the current Roboflow from running. You do that by clicking here on Stop All Workflows. You make sure that Roboflow comes back to you and tells you that it has finished. Remember, this could be or could take maybe a minute. It could even say that Roboflow is not responding. Just do a refresh until it gives you this kind of view where all the workflows are disabled. Never ever go in and edit at this point the workflows, because you might be overwriting your interval, which is now automatically forced to 0. Good. We stopped this. So the next thing is to stop the Roboflow service. And so you can either do it in your task manager, or you can do it in another in the services itself. So what you can see, I only have one Roboflow instance installed, and here is how you can install a second one. All you need to do is just come to this folder, and at this point I am using actually this installation. So let's go here. What we need to do is, and sorry for doing this, I need to get this back to the out-of-the-box installation. Yeah, maybe not. Let's stick to this. So what you need to do is imagine that this is your Roboflow installation and you want to duplicate it. All you need to do is just, first of all, duplicate the folder. Maybe keep in mind that you might have your big log files in your current Roboflow installation, so it might be a good idea to clean that up. The second thing you want to do is you go to your Roboflow installation and you edit your roboflow.xml file. In the Roboflow XML file, you will have here we go. This will look something like this, and then you will have a lot of these entries, which let me just, for the sake of example, copy a few. And these are then your workflows. So let's call this workflow 1, workflow 2, workflow 3. So imagine that these are different workflows, and that we want to actually spread them across multiple installations. And so let's say, for example, I have 6 of them and I want 3 on each Roboflow installation. What you need to do at that point is, in the original installation, is just, and of course, is just throw away from here the ones that you don't want to keep in this installation. You just remove it, and then the next time this Roboflow will start, it will no longer execute these workflows. They will no longer be in the list. So imagine I have here a copy. So let's give it a decent name like this. And when I go in here, you go to the same file and you do exactly the opposite. What you do here is, of course, you saw me edit this, so you remove the ones that are running in workflow 1. So in workflow 1 I have watch folder 1, 2, 3. In this one I have 4, 5, and 6. So by doing this, you have now 2 installations running a subset of the original installation. In the first one, 3 workflows, and in the second one, 3 workflows. The next thing, and let's just go quickly back here. As I said, this was a fixed installation. It was an installation I was doing some stuff with, so don't mind this file. We're using the one that is out of the box. You will see in the standard installation that in here, first of all, if you're splitting up because your memory usage or you need to have more processing power for each RoboFlow, well, it's a good idea to put the memory to 2048 in this case, and also here 2048. That way you're certain that your RoboFlow will have enough memory to work on. Yeah, I don't have that much memory on my computer, so I'm putting it back, but please keep that in mind. That is very important. You will also notice, and we will see that in the other file, that RoboFlow has a title for the service it is running at here, and the title, the service name, the title, etc. That's exactly what we're going to edit in the second RoboFlow instance that we installed. So I'm going here, and what I need to do is, all I need to do is here, edit my wrapper conf. And again, I'm going to go back to the box one here. So, what am I going to change in here? Well, again, don't forget to open the memory. But what is actually important in here is that we're going to call this, for instance, RoboFlow 2. So what we do in all these things is I just add a 2. And now from this point on, this RoboFlow will run as RoboFlow 2. A second in the service as soon as we install it. A second thing is that RoboFlow listens to a certain port. Actually 2 ports, and these ports are defined in the roboflow.xml file. And these ports are specified here. These 2 ports are the default ports that RoboFlow uses. This is actually the web port, is what the web server console uses to talk to the backend. And this is the Cumulus solution, web solution talking to the RoboFlow backend. Well, we cannot have 2 applications listening to the same port. So we're just changing this to 6 and we're changing this to 8, and we subtract 2. And if you have a third and a fourth, you just subtract 2 each time, and that will automatically give you more possibilities. And then when you have set this up, then now all is left is to install the service, and then RoboFlow will be running. So what you have is the installer. There is an install here of RoboFlow. Run it as a service. Yes. And then if we go and have a look at our services, we will notice that now suddenly I have a RoboFlow 2. Don't forget to maybe set up here also a login as. Remember, if you're using network credentials, if you need network access, you need to specify here a domain account with network credentials, etc. And you will find them in your normal RoboFlow installation. So from this point on, if you say start, the RoboFlow will run. And so let's start the original, and then let's start the second one. You will notice that there's always a 30-second delay for Roboflow starting. Why is that? That is actually a parameter in your wrapper conf, and that parameter forces Roboflow to wait 30 seconds before actually starting. The reason for this is that Roboflow will, as soon as it starts, make a connection to the Cumulus server, etc. And it's just to avoid that maybe the Cumulus server is not yet up and running, should you be running Roboflow on the same computer as the server. Here we go. So now in the web server console, when I connect, and let's start from fresh, so disconnect, and I'm going to connect. If I'm connecting, Roboflow by default connects to a specific port. So log in. That it just looks in this case out of the box for localhost 2 of the Web Solutions installation. And you can see I have here my Roboflows. I had the original, and then I had some 1, 2, 3s that I added. So these are in my original installation. But I can say here select, and then you see this is out of the box, and in reality out of the box it looks like this, but it doesn't need to specify that. That's the default value. Well, if I change this now to that, and localhost could be the IP address of the Roboflow server. If I now, oh sorry, I was :8996 tap, and now to connect. Now it's talking to the other Roboflow. So you see, this way you can easily switch between the Roboflow instances, and they can run separately. They will have each their own tunnel to the server, to the Cumulus server, which means that they will be able to use more Cumulus resources, and they will be able to have more Java resources because they're running in a separate thread. They of course need those CPU power and memory. So as I always say, you should have 4 cores for a Roboflow, and so 2 Roboflows is 8 cores, your operating system 2, so then your computer needs 10 cores. And so a quick calculation, you should make sure you have at least 4 gigabytes of memory for each Roboflow, because it starts Cumulus tools behind the scenes, so they also take memory. There's one final thing that we need to change in the normal restart procedure. It doesn't specify a port, and so this restarts Roboflow, the daily restart. Well, you need to, in that second instance, you need to change the service name, and also the way this is calling it. This is just says stop now, but in reality this needs to say the port and the IP address. And so if I then run this, it will stop the right installation of your Roboflow. So this is localhost in my example, but that's the IP address or whatever of your server. So when I run this as script, this is what of course you should configure with a Windows scheduler task as you had for the same. It's connecting, and it's then disconnecting, stopping Roboflow. And I'm going to not start it again. But so here, if you do, this is the second Roboflow instance. If you do a refresh, it's going to complain that it has no more, and that Roboflow is no longer there. And if you look at the script, it's waiting then for 150 seconds before it starts it again. There was one typo that I made here. It is, of course, in the second the default is 9, so -2 is 7, not 8 as I showed before. And this is default 8, so 6. So that's the correct settings. And what I also sometimes do as a safety precaution is that I add to the normal restart that I do a net stop so that I'm sure that the service is stopped. So this first line is actually asking Roboflow nicely to stop, but if it's hanging or somehow not responding, then this net stop would really stop it, and then you're sure it will stop. So that's what I usually also do to this installation file. So this was a quick example of how you can have Roboflow. And if I want to switch to my first Roboflow, so I have the 96 and I have the 98, which is my normal first Roboflow installation. And when the service is back up, the second one will also appear. At this point it doesn't, of course, because it is stopped, but soon as I would start it again, it would be available. Oh, my battery. And so if I do a refresh, you can see that this is back up and running. So I hope this was useful. Thank you for joining this training movie. See you on another one.